for listening in and for correcting us. And you didn't miss anything, but Jim's got some breaking news that he's going to tell us about shortly. And I want to make sure that we introduce Jim is a member of the Public Safety Committee. He's also running for fire board here on Fort Myers Beach. So, Jim, first of all, tell us how long you've lived on the beach.
Well, we started coming down here like many people do as snowbirds back in 2011. We spent a lot of time on the beach at that time because we just came down here after I retired from the Kettering, Ohio Police Department. Decided we wanted to get away from the winters, and we fell in love with Fort Myers Beach. So we found ourselves spending more and more time down here. So after a while, we figured out that we could buy a place and live here cheaper than we could rent. So we started searching. We found a place down on the south end of the island, Estero Cove Condominiums, and we bought in there in 2015. And we've been residents ever since and have just loved living here.
And your lovely wife is here, and she works at the Islander.
She does. She works at the Islander there at Santini Plaza.
And that's one of Anita's stores?
Yes, it's one of Anita's 3 stores.
What do they sell there?
They sell everything there. They sell a lot of ladies' clothes. They sell a lot of jewelry. And they have a lot of odds and end things, little purses and things like that.
Right.
She's had an opportunity to be in a couple of fashion shows.
Wow.
Anita likes to do little fashion shows.
Right at the store there.
Right there at the store. And
maybe Anita would have you do a fashion show.
No, I don't think so. But
I think that'd be great.
Well, she could invite you, Kim.
Well, she could. But I think that would really look good on Ed.
Anita's our best favorite. No offense, Jim, but Anita's our favorite guest of all time.
Oh, well.
It's a hard act to follow.
She's quite the character, and she was a great mayor when she was on council, and I think people on beach should appreciate her and love her. Really, she's done a lot for Fort Myers Beach.
So let's talk about the fire board first, and or do you want to do the breaking news first? Or we're going to save the breaking news. Kind of all right, let's talk about the fire board. You're running for fire board.
I am. There was an opening that came up on the fire board probably around February. One of the fire commissioners had to retire because of health concerns. And unfortunately, it was Bob Raymond, and he unfortunately has passed away this past year. But in any event, they decided they would appoint someone to fill that position until the November election. And then you had to, whoever was going to then be on the commission would have to be voted in at the November election. So I applied along with several other people for the appointment, and we went submitted resumes, went in for interviews. They were quite public. I'd never been through an interview quite like that. You're in town hall, you're on TV, and the commission's up there, and you got an audience, and they ask you questions, and it was kind of interesting.
Who were you interviewed by?
The other 4 commissioners.
Okay. Wow. Sounds official.
It was. It was a little intimidating. That's all I'm saying. So in any event, we get in there, and they after that process, they voted, and they selected me to serve on the board. So I've been on the fire commission since July 8th, and but I also have to run for election to remain on the commission after the November election. So that's what I'm doing. Probably see my signs up and down the island there. Jim Knickle for fire commissioner.
Yes, I saw them next door at a local color. Why are you kicking me already?
I wanted to ask one question.
Well, go ahead and ask.
All right.
Go right ahead.
Speak up.
I mean, good Lord, I can't get a word in edgewise with this one. So what was your interest or impetus to want to run or serve?
I've always been involved in public safety. I was and serving on public boards. So up in Ohio, I was a police officer for 40 years.
Wow.
And I retired. Kettering, Ohio is a suburb of Dayton, in case anybody doesn't know where that's at. But it's a kind of a mid-sized. I like our friend over here.
I know.
It's a big barker. Big barker.
No, she's like a.
Well, it's Lucy. Her name is Lucy.
Her name is Lucy. I think she's
Very
like
nice.
a bloodhound
Lucy.
or something.
She's big. In any event, so I was on the Kettering, Ohio Police Department for 40 years. Retired in 2011 with the rank of lieutenant.
Nice.
During that time, I had the opportunity to be involved with many things. I actually worked in every section of the department, and then I commanded virtually every section of the department, and got to meet some very interesting people. Got to meet Vice President Cheney.
Wow.
Got to meet Vice President Biden when he was running. Got to meet. Gosh, I can't even remember them all. President Bush, President Clinton. So it was being involved in all that was quite interesting, and I just always enjoyed. It was kind of like gets in your blood, service.
The birds are inside.
Then subsequent to that, we moved from our house. We had a 4-bedroom house where we raised our 5 kids. We have 14 grandkids now.
Wow.
So we moved from that house to a condo up in Dayton, and I got on the condo board, and the next thing you know, I was president of that board. So then we started coming down here, and eventually we purchased a place at Estero Cove there at Fort Myers Beach, across from the Wyndham Garden Inn.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't very long. I ran for the board there at Estero Cove. It was about 2018, and got elected, and then they appointed me president there. So at one point, I was president of both condos.
Is that that's like an HOA, right?
Yeah. So, and I'm still currently on the board there at Estero Cove and serving as the president there.
So let me ask you this: when you said you were 40 years?
40 years on the Kettering Police Department.
What do you think when you see all this defund the police?
Well, I think people they're not really grasping what needs to really happen. I think what needs to happen is law enforcement and really criminal justice reform as a whole. The whole system probably needs a little work. It's been tried a few times. It's not been terribly successful. I think community policing is a valid concept that can work very effectively in some communities, and we had it in Kettering, and I thought it was extremely effective there. It's really a philosophy of policing more than it is a program or a project, and at least that's the way we handled it in Ohio, and it seemed to work very well in our community.
So when you say community policing, you mean the police officers spending more time in the community. You don't mean the community actually, the residents policing themselves. Can you explain what you mean by community?
Right. Well,
because they are talking about it down here.
Yes, I know they are, and I'm not sure exactly what that concept is. In fact, I might get the opportunity to learn a little more about it as a member of that public safety committee. I think we're gonna have the opportunity to talk with the sheriff's department a little bit about it and learn a little more about the community policing program as offered by the sheriff office. But generally speaking, what community policing is, there was a period of time when police officers were kind of like an occupation force in a town. And they basically, the community didn't know them and they didn't know the community. They just came in, they worked their shift, they handled calls, and they enforced the law. And what the whole concept of community policing is for an officer to become part of the community,
right,
where he knows the people on his beat, and he's familiar with them and they're familiar with him. So and a lot of times in a program like that, they might hand out their own cell number to people, and they might be patrolling an area and the phone rings and it's Mrs. Wilson over on such and such a street, and she's got a problem. And so the officer might go over and help her out with whatever her problem is. Now that kind of community interaction and community closeness is what makes community policing work.
Got it.
Now, I think one of the other things that came up that's similar but not is the neighborhood watch. Now,
right.
What are your feelings about that? Where's the board looking to go with that?
Well, I think neighborhood watch, at least in my experience, has been a very effective way for neighborhoods to get together. We live in a somewhat, a society that kind of people don't know each other like they did back in the old days. You might live on a street and never know your neighbor. Well, the whole concept of neighborhood watch is for neighbors to get together, get to know each other, and kind of look out for each other, so that if they see something that looks wrong or something that they think the police ought to investigate, they speak up. It's also a way of good communication. So if you're having problems in a neighborhood, or even an adjoining neighborhood, people have the opportunity then to communicate about it, and ultimately they can get ahead of the game, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So the other things that you want to get accomplished on the Public Safety Committee are what? Because the Nuisance Abatement Board, what are your thoughts on that? It didn't even go through the Public Safety Committee. It kind of went right to the council, and they approved it.
Right. Now, obviously, that's a decision of council, and I respect that, and I appreciate I think the Nuisance Abatement Board is a tool. As long as the tool is not overused or abused, it's probably an effective tool to have in your tool belt. I think if you only have one tool in your tool belt, everything looks like, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So I think it's beneficial to have a number of options available, and if you're not able to accomplish what you need to accomplish, maybe with a community problem, another way you can always fall back on this, because this is probably the hammer, you know. But if you have other tools in your tool belt, you use those first, and then if you're not getting where you need to be, then I think you fall back on that. So I would hope that board wouldn't be used very much. You wouldn't see much action out of it, but it's there. It's available. I mean, council's decided we want to have that tool.
Do you think we should have it?
Do I think we should have it? Gee, you're not the first person that's asked me that, and I said it never hurts to have tools.
Okay, so another issue that's a major issue on the island is the lighting, and it's been in front of your committee. It's been in front of the council. They've done 2 or 3 studies. They're doing another study. Why can't you get the lighting right?
Gosh, Ed, I wish you'd ask me something that is like, controversial.
It seems like it's the people against the turtles, to be honest with you.
I will tell you, it is a complicated issue, and you can't just look at it myopically. You have to take into consideration the totality of it and the unique environment that we live in. So I think council has been really desperately trying to thread that needle. And we did look at some options early on, and I don't think they look too bad to us, but the council decided, we need some more information. So they have put it out for bids again, and we're currently waiting for the bids to come in, to have another consultant come in, give us some more information and more options. I think that's really what they're looking for, is more options, because we need. It almost feels like anyhow you have competing interests here, but I don't think we really do. I think there is a middle ground that can be had, and I think that's what council is trying to do. And I applaud them for their patience and their effort to do it.
Is it really?
Now,
Go ahead.
So the first bid went out though, and nothing came back. Is that correct? And so now for a consultant,
right? It did.
And so now it's gone.
It's gone out a second time.
Is it the same RFQ or whatever that is?
RFP.
To the best of my knowledge, it's pretty close to the same. They could have tweaked it a little bit, but I can't speak to that. You'd have to ask.
And that's to get a
the
consultant, not to get another study yet, right?
Right.
It's
Well, the consultant is probably going to come in and look at everything that's been done, because, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and then probably add, a little value added, do some of their own work as well. And then I'm sure they'll make recommendations to the council as to what they think we should do. And what involvement Public Safety Committee will have on that, we really don't know at this point.
Right.
But that's one of the things. This last meeting that we had, the one that you kept an eye on, Ed, was our organizational meeting. We added a couple of new members.
Yeah.
We selected a chair and a vice chair, and we really kind of looked at all the issues that we think we're going to be faced with over the next year, and the lighting is one of them. But we don't really know for sure how big of a role, if any, we're going to play in that from this point forward. So I guess we'll wait to see what council wants us to do. That's our job. We're really there to help council.
Well,
you've got to give them some information.
Well, and I just want to say this before I forget it, is that if folks want to get caught up on what the committee does, that's a good meeting to go back and watch.
Yeah.
Because John Goggin does a great job of
Reviewing.
Getting the new members up to date. And for folks who have forgotten, because it's been a long process, the lighting thing, he explained that, and a lot of the other issues that you guys are kind of working on. So it really could get somebody up to speed.
Yeah, I think our community is very fortunate to have someone like John to chair that committee. That committee can I think provide a lot of valuable insight to council as they're going to go about making decisions. And I think John is just an excellent leader in that respect, and can convey our ideas back to council in a really effective way.
Just one final point on that. The last consultant that they had come in and make a presentation to the council, I thought was excellent. I don't remember her name, but she came in and made a presentation, and I thought it was great. And I guess I don't really understand why they're going for another consultant. It seems like it's coming down to money, to figure out how much money the town wants to spend, because you have to do what you have to do for the turtles, and so it's coming. It seems like, and you don't want it to look like Burnt Store Road in Cape Coral, where they're trying to put shields up to block the lighting. Yeah. I mean, so that you don't damage the wildlife and the human beings. So it just seems like it's getting more complicated than it should be.
Well, I think what you said is exactly right. It's a complicated issue, and I think council wants to try to make the right decision. And when you're facing a complicated issue like this, rushing into a quick decision, while it might feel good, it just doesn't necessarily is in the best interest of the community in the long run. So I applaud them for their patience. I applaud them for pursuing this and trying to get all the information they can before they come to a final decision.
So the other issue that's huge right now is the Foot of the Bridge project, which, the way I understand it, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the county is involved, DOT is involved, and the town is involved. And there were three options. The county presented the third option, which you guys, if you want to look at it, it's on our website on beachtalkradionews.com. You can see the option. And it almost appeared as if you guys from the Public Safety Committee didn't get any input on what seems to be what's decided, and that is you're concerned about crosswalks, because that turned out to be one of the number one tied with, I don't forget the other one was homeless, but the number one safety concern was people just darting out across the roads, and there seemed like there was too many crosswalks in that proposal.
Well, and the committee had submitted or came up with a plan of some
recommendations
for no crosswalks, right? And that didn't seem to. There's some question on whether that got brought forward or was considered, or.
Gee, I wish you could give me something.
Don't sugarcoat it now.
I wish you could just give me something that was simple.
I'm just going.
That's a huge project,
but the whole deal is all of these projects are very complicated,
yes.
and there are many competing issues that have to be considered. And I think council again is trying to thread that needle to be responsive to. There are three people here in making these decisions: the town council, the county commission, and the state Florida Department of Transportation.
Right.
Everybody has to be happy.
Right.
And that's not always easy to do. So I think what they're trying to do is come up with a plan that's going to meet the needs of all three entities. And it may not necessarily coincide with what we originally had recommended, but I think in the long run, whatever they do there is going to be an incredible improvement to what we have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of anxious to see what they finally come up with and for things to happen, because I think it'll improve the flow of traffic. And that was really what our committee was looking at, was trying to improve the flow of traffic. We were worried that crosswalks there
would impede
traffic, but it remains to be seen how they're managed, I think. So we'll just have to see how it all comes out. But I'm pretty excited about them looking at that right now, and I'm looking forward to the final, council making its final decision in conjunction with the county and the state to come up with a finalized plan. Then we all know what's happening. Whether you liked it or hated it, you at least know what's going to happen.
Not everybody's going to like it.
It's good.
And so everybody knows there will be a public hearing on that in February or March, according to the Lee County Department of Transportation representative. He said there will be a public hearing on it next year, early next year, and then construction probably not till 2022.
Right. That's the way I was hearing it as well. So,
and to me, it makes perfect sense to not have as many crosswalks, because it's just, you want the traffic flowing, because your expectation with all this, the new hotel and new Times Square, you want people you want to be like Disney, moving people around. You want to just get them on, get them off.
Not only that, but it seems, and I don't know, because I'm not an engineer, that the more crosswalks you have, the more opportunity you have for people to be in them and someone not to see them. And it just,
Right. Well, again, I think you have the three entities involved. They all have their own view on how that should be. And then, you throw a silly thing in there like the Florida statutes and things like that. So,
right.
And you have to it's complicated.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just going to ask about the bus, or is it the bus or the trolley shelter that's going in, and the code blue?
Right. This is an area we think we would be a really value added to the community. Is working with Lee Tran to install some bus shelters, basically, so that when you're waiting for the bus, you can get out of the rain or out of the sun. It's sunny here most of the time.
Right.
And also a place where you could summon help. So if you put a code blue is like a little device that would allow you to essentially connect directly with the police and fire dispatcher. so that if you had a medical emergency or a police emergency, you know you have a safe place to go and you can summon help, whether you have your cell phone with you or not. Not everybody carries a cell phone these days, but if they didn't for one reason or another, there's a place there they could get a hold of help. And so we have a test one going in, I think, over by the school,
right,
and past the library and back behind, and we're going to get that in place. We're going to see how that works, and we're going to see, maybe we'll tweak our ideas from there. Again, this is an idea that we have been working on the Public Safety Committee, but we have partners, so you have to work with your partners. You have to work with the city, and you have to work with Lee Tran. So Jim,
does Fort Myers Beach have a homeless problem?
Gosh.
Another easy softball question.
We'll get around to that. Oh, you're going to kick me off? I'd like just going to talk a little. Okay.
No.
All right. Do we have a homeless problem? It's a complicated issue.
Okay.
None of these issues are black and white and easy to solve. I think it's an issue that is going to require some study. It's going to require some social service involvement. And of course, it's going to require, I think, some sophisticated ordinances and enforcement process. So I'm not going to say we have a problem, Ed. I think we're going to have to work on making sure everyone on this island feels safe and that everyone on this island is taken care of.
Right.
Is it safe or unsafe? Do people feel safe or unsafe?
I think most people here feel safe.
Yes, I agree with that.
I certainly do.
I mean,
I feel like I could walk up and down the street here at night and I would not feel
Right.
I would not feel the least bit intimidated.
Do you think Fort Myers Beach needs a police department?
I think we're doing pretty well with the sheriff. It's certainly a cheaper option to do it this way, and it's common in Florida to do things this way. Much like special districts are kind of unique. They're not necessarily unique to Florida, but they're certainly not common up north. They hear the use of the sheriff, even in municipalities like Fort Myers Beach, is a pretty common thing. And I think sheriffs have to just be responsive to their clients. And I think the sheriff here has been.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to switch back to his election and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So can you explain to people what the fire board does?
Okay. We have a fire district here. It was I think originally put in place around 1949 or 1950.
Wow.
So it way preceded the town. And that, again, is common in Florida. You determine that you have a governmental need, a need that you need some kind of government to take care of, in this case, fire protection. And so the people here formed the fire control district of Fort Myers Beach. And it's a totally separate, independent form of government, has nothing to do with the town whatsoever. Commissioners that are elected to the board are like councilmen. They have the authority to make ordinances, essentially to make laws and to set tax rates and so forth, as well as supervise the manager of the district, which in our case, as a fire district, is our fire chief, Matt Love. You've had Matt on the show a few times. I will have to speak very highly about Matt here in a second. But in any event, that's what districts are different. Up north, most police and fire departments are either affiliated with a municipality or a county, where in Florida, many services are provided by districts, mosquito control, hospitals, road and utilities, water and inlet control districts. We have, well, the Florida Association of Special Districts has over 1,700 members. And I'm sure not every district is a member. So you can tell they're just all over Florida, and they provide a really valuable governmental service to the people that they serve.
How many members and how big is the budget? How many members on the board and how big is your budget?
There are 5 commissioners, and that's all set in Florida statute. And I'm not sure I can rattle that number off right now, the budget for the whole fire department. I can't do it. I'm
Okay.
not gonna
No worries.
speculate because
Yeah, well, you don't want to.
I just don't have that number.
Sure. So, is your wife your campaign manager? Because she was she getting on us because we were talking too much public safety and
That's her job.
election? Okay,
she is the
gotcha.
campaign
All right.
manager and the treasurer.
Just want to make sure.
So,
You got to keep the campaign small in a small town. I got you. I got
so
you.
why should people vote for you?
Well, thank you for asking.
It's a good question,
It
right?
is- that's a great question. by the
Thank
way.
you.
Oh yeah, we'll
We
get to
keep
the
score of
breaking
the good
news.
questions. We're going to save the breaking news for the last piece.
Yes. The reason I decided to try to get on the commission was really out of a sense of public service. I've served on the condominium board in Ohio and the condominium board here. Then I volunteered to get on the public safety committee. And when the opportunity came up to serve on the fire commission, I felt it was just another great opportunity to contribute back to the community. I had a lot of experience with my 40 years in law enforcement. Being a law enforcement executive, I worked closely with our municipal fire department. We put together a joint 911 center that I was involved in. And so I had to work very closely with them to put that together and learn about fire. What I discovered was while the technical skills that the line people do, like policemen and firemen do, are very different, the administrative management of a fire department is very similar to the administrative management of a police department. We have ranks and kind of military ranks and all of that stuff, and it's all part of government. So it seemed like a natural fit that I thought I could come in and not just occupy the seat, but actually make some contributions right away. Yeah. And I felt like I have been able to do that. And I've gotten feedback from other commissioners who've been surprised that I was able to get up to speed as quick as I was able to. I owe that a lot to Chief Love. He spends a lot of time with the new commissioner to get them caught up with all of the issues, explain to them how the fire department works and all of those things. And it helped me a lot with my background and experience and the hours I spent with him learning about the fire district and the fire department to be able to make some contributions right away. We have some pretty big things on our plate coming up.
Whatever
too,
he gets paid, it's not enough. So I hope
Right.
that the first thing you do when you arrive, if you win, is to give Chief Love a raise.
Well, thank
Because
you.
whatever it is, it's not enough.
Well, I will tell you. I'm going to talk a little bit about Chief Love. I'm going to
Is
go
this
out
the
on a
breaking
limb here.
news?
This is it.
I have a breaking news sounder, but if you would have told me yesterday, I could have put it in the
You could have put it out
system.
there
I
on
could
the
have put it in the
screen,
system.
So, all right.
Breaking
So,
news.
breaking news. Breking
The
news.
breaking news is, first off, I want to say Chief Love, when I came here, I didn't have a clue what to expect. I'd heard about the fire department. Some people liked it. Some people didn't. That's probably some of that's going back 10, 15 years, you know.
Okay.
So, but I have been so pleasantly surprised at how absolutely professional our fire department is. It is just incredible, and how lucky we are as a community to have a fire department that is as skilled and professional as this agency. And this is not an easy place to provide fire protection. We have marine areas, boats and marinas. We have all kinds of different structures, anything from little cottages to houses made of cinder block. We have high rises here,
And you have no space to get the fire trucks through.
Yeah. So, and each one of those are very special and unique things that a fire department has to train for, has to have the equipment for, and has to have the knowledge in order to effectively do that, fight a fire in those circumstances. So I have to say that our fire department is just incredible, and I am so impressed with them. But I'm really impressed with Matt. Matt has been the best CEO that I have ever had the pleasure of working with in my entire life. And I've been involved in local government, my whole life. Bar none, he is just most incredible. And that apparently is not just my view, because Matt, just yesterday,
Here it comes.
was named Special District Manager of the Year.
Wow.
For the state of Florida.
No
Wow.
kidding.
This is
Well
an award.
deserved.
This is an award that is issued by the Florida Association of Special Districts, and it reflects ethics and professionalism and transparency in government. That's the main criteria. So they're judging not only Matt's conduct, but how the district operates and functions and provides its services. So It is a great honor for him to be selected, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Wow, that's
and
great.
I congratulate him on this incredible recognition.
Another reason to give him a raise. Another reason he
Right.
deserves more money. They all do.
They all do.
So where can people find your campaign, help you out, get some signs, all that stuff?
We're on Facebook at Jim Knickle for FMB Fire Commissioner, and you can message us there. We also have an email, which is it's on the Facebook there, so you can send us an email.
Did you
If
say
you need a
the
sign,
Facebook?
we can do what?
Did you say the Facebook?
The Facebook.
That's how he
Gotcha.
says it
On
too.
the Facebook. So yeah, you can find us there, and information that you need is there. We try to keep people kind of updated as to what we're doing, and this has been kind of an unusual year to try to run a campaign.
Yeah.
With COVID, you try not to. You don't want to put other people at risk, and you don't want to put other people uncomfortable. So we're not shaking a lot of hands and kissing a lot of babies, but we did put out a couple of mailers so that people could become familiar with us. I think Ellen has a couple here.
All right, great. We'll pass them out.
We'll leave with you, and we can pass them out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
These came to people in the mail so that they would be familiar. And on your ballot here at Fort Myers Beach, they have all of the offices, all of the office holders, and then we're down at the very bottom right-hand
I know
side.
it's going to be. There's so much other stuff going on.
I would ask you to go down to that very bottom right-hand side and vote for Jim Knickle for fire commissioner.
Now, Jim, do you think you'll ever run for town council? Because I see that in your future.
Well, it's nice of you to ask, but that's a whole different can of worms. The fire district is kind of specific to public safety, which is my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And the town council is what I call generalized government, which is a little broader, and it can be intense at times. Sometimes.
But you're not saying no.
Sometimes the mayor might, get interviewed by someone and get hammered a little. I don't know, Ed. You know anything about that? I mean, it can be a little.
Turn a new leaf here.
It can be a little intense. It can be a little intense, and so
I hear you.
So I we'll have to see. I'm not saying no,
but I'm not
saying yes. So there you go.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and good luck with your campaign. Anything we can do to help, let us know. And
thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to come up and join you guys. I have to tell you what people at home don't appreciate. As you're sitting here, it smells so good. You just cannot get over.
You need to come on down for some breakfast.
Right? We got a nice crowd outside, and the good thing about what's going on now too, Jim, is we see the beach is picking up. The season is starting to kick in, so that's nice to see. People need everybody to come down and do their social distancing, but spend their money.
I concur.
Good luck, Jim.
Thank
Have a
you
great weekend.
so much.
Thanks to your wife too for coming down. And before we get to our second guest, Todd True.